Okay, well, go ahead and get started. And this class will probably be a little shorter than normal. I'm in the midst of wedding preparations and I've got some flowers to arrange. But this class will just be winding down, letting your nervous system settle, but giving yourself a good opportunity to just get into your body, out of your head, process your day, and just get into that experience, calm down your nervous system, and feel a nice stretch through your muscles. So that's what we're trying to accomplish with this class. And, the last couple of weeks, I've been reading quotes from this book, When Things Fall Apart by Pema Chodron, and can't stop. There's just so many treasures here. But tonight I just want to talk about the experiential quality of doing this mindful movement practice and also sitting in meditation. She says, whether we're eating or working or meditating or listening or talking, the reason that we're here in this world is to study ourselves. All the wisdom about how we cause ourselves to suffer, and all the wisdom about how joyful and vast and uncomplicated our minds are, can only be found in our experience. And our experience is vast and multifaceted, right? It's not just the pleasant things and the happy feelings. It's all of the experiences that we have, and that's why we have bodies. That's why we have bodies. They're tools of experience. And the more in tune we can become with our bodies, the more familiar and friendly that we can become, the deeper our experience. Okay. She says, right, we need to be able to have this objective, clear seeing that we can just notice what's happening without any judgment or attachment. But if that's all we've got, that's a pretty soulless and often disheartening way to exist, with just kind of cool detachment. We have to bring some self-compassion and kindness to our experience. Kindness is a down-to-earth, everyday way to describe the important ingredient that balances out the whole picture and helps us connect with unconditional joy. Let's see, what else? And it's this coming to our bodies with this sense of kindness and compassion that allows us to really inhabit our own experience and develop empathy and be able to connect with others, because what's personal really is universal. When we can feel and process and just be with the sensations in our body, when we can feel stretching or fatigue or a lot of warmth and pleasure, right? That helps us be able to connect with others. So this self-study isn't just to be self-centered. It's to be intimately connected with the human experience, to be really familiar with all of the flavors so that we can be able to connect and serve others, because the personal really is universal. So let's start with just some centering. Sit however is comfortable for you. I've got a block that I'm sitting on. Folded blanket, kneeling, whatever works, and just close your eyes. And really let your legs relax and be heavy. Start to notice your breath as it comes in and out of your body. Does it want to come in through your nose or your mouth? Does it want to leave through your nose or your mouth? Just notice. Notice how deeply it wants to go, just where you feel your breath travel to. Notice if there are any jagged edges as the air comes through your throat. And see if you can just smooth all of it out. Relax your jaw and your face. And you can find little rocks forward and back just so that you can feel some settling into your sitting bones and your pelvis underneath you. And then let your shoulders just end stacked right over your pelvis, back of your neck long. What is it like to inhabit your body right now and just really come into your experience in this present moment? Get curious about your left pinky toe. Can you feel your left pinky toe? What's happening there? Can you feel the texture of the support under it? Can you feel the temperature? And then bring your awareness to your right pointer finger. See if you can get really curious about the experience there. Can you feel the length of that finger? Can you feel any temperature or texture there? And then go ahead and just open your eyes and come to your hands and knees. Just start to find some intuitive movement there. You can circles, pelvic circles, big circles with your body, any movement in your spine that feels good on a table. Just kind of get into your spine there. And then start to play with cat and cow, but vary the position of your hand. So maybe take one hand forward and one hand back and find some cat and cow there. And then just switch, staggering your hands. Maybe try it on fists. And then start to add some shoulder circles, some scapular movement here in your cat and cow. At the same time, you can kind of let your lower back and your pelvis move. Just start warming through everything connected there. And your upper back. And then we'll do a few hip circles. So just let your upper body movement end. Reach your right leg back, bend into that knee. Just bring your knee out to the side towards your armpit, chest. foot to the ceiling. Just do that a couple times. And then switch directions. And then lengthen that leg back and just bring your toes to the floor and really push back through your heel. And then just tip your foot so the inner edge of your foot comes to the floor and then come forward. Just kind of smush through your ankle, some ankle rolls there, and really kind of put some load on that. You can push your weight. Did not pull my hair back and it's crazy. Curtain I can't see through. And then switch directions. Smush through that ankle. And then lift your right leg back up. Cross it over your left. Look over your left shoulder. That right foot. And then bend both knees and just kind of push back in a cross-legged child's pose thing. Stretch along through your right side body. And then come back to center, uncross your legs and find those big hip circles with your left. Just lift up, out to the side, knee to armpit. And just keep going in the other direction. And then lengthen that leg out, push back through your heel, and then tip your foot around. Just kind of smush and circle through that ankle and apply some load as you do it. And go both directions. And then lift your leg up, cross it over your right. Look over that right shoulder toward your left heel. And then bend both knees and push back into your cross-legged child's pose. Come back up onto your hands and knees. We'll just do a little bit of wrist work. So just lift your palms alternately, back and forth. Maybe a couple times with both at the same time. And then take your right fingertips, turn them out to the right, and then back towards your knee. Just stretch there, and then switch. Just left fingertips, turn them around. And then undo that. Make your big fist with your right hand and then bring the back of your right hand to the floor. Bring that elbow towards straight and then just open and close your fist a couple of times. And then do the other side. Just make that fist with your left hand. Bring the back of your hand to the floor. Straighten your elbow as much as you can and then just open and close that hand. And then come back to your hands and knees, tuck your toes and just let your knees hover off the floor. Just a couple of inches. Just turn on your core, soften those lowest front ribs in toward your spine. Feel strong through your belly. And then we're just gonna pivot on the pinky toe edge of that right foot and drop your hip toward the floor and then come up towards center and go to the left. Just back and forth a few times. So you're loading through those shoulders, but move through your core. Okay, we're gonna come down onto the right hip all the way. Take your right leg so we're making 90-90. So you've got left leg back, right leg here, and you can settle into your right arm. Use it as a kickstand. We did this on Wednesday, but just shrug your shoulder toward your ear and then push the floor away. And just do that a few times, and you can think about moving through your rib cage, moving through that whole shoulder apparatus. And maybe as you push the floor away, you can reach your left arm alongside your ear and then shrink down. So think of dropping those right ribs to the floor and then lifting them up. Just do that maybe 2 more times. So it's really simple shoulder work. And then settle down here. You can keep leaning into that right hand, or you can come upright more. We're gonna do some work with our legs. So push the floor away with all your might in that right leg. So think of your right outer foot, right knee, right outer hip pushing into the floor with all your might. And just push, 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 push. And then release. And now push that left or back knee into the floor. Push, 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 push. So this is adduction, right? You're moving this leg toward the middle, adding it in. Okay. And now front leg, try to keep your knee grounded. And it may just happen in your imagination, but we're gonna think of lifting that right ankle up off the floor. So stay flexed to your foot and try to keep your ankle kind of just in line with your knee. Really push down through that knee, but think of external rotation here. And then go ahead and release that effort. Push down into your left knee, flex your left foot, and then just lift that foot up off the floor and drop it down. Lift it up off the floor and drop it down. Just finding some mobility and strength through our hip joints and in all the variety of ways that they can move. Great. And then come upright a little more, and you can fold over that right leg. You can be kind of out past your knee a little more or straight over your shin. Just kind of listen to what feels good. You don't want to get too crunchy anywhere. And keep active. You can full flex through that right thigh. And then come on up. And now with this back hip, I want you to push, so engage your left glute and kind of push that hip forward, and then take that inner thigh and push it back. It's really subtle. Let's see if I move in a way that you can see better what I'm doing. But you're just gonna push it back and then engage and push forward in that hip. And this is helpful, right? You can do the same kind of thing in Warrior Two. So you're grounding that femur bone toward the back plane of your body, and then engage and push forward. Go ahead and pause there. And we'll just come back to our little beast. So walk your hands around, tuck your toes, let your knees hover off the floor. And then we'll start and just drop our hips toward the left. They don't even have to touch the floor, just hover and then come to center. And then toward the right. Just kind of swiveling here. Knees hovering off the floor. Using that core strength. Arm strength. Okay, next time we get our left hip to the floor, we're gonna ground it down and find that 90-90 arrangement here on this side. Okay, I'm gonna turn around. Use your left arm as a kickstand. And just shrug your shoulder up and then push the floor away. Just shrug there. And just get into that experience with some friendliness and kindness. And even just keep a soft smile on your face. And then start to add that top arm and exaggerate your rib cage movement, dropping those left ribs down and then lifting your right ribs up as you push through, let that left shoulder shrug up and then push it away. And then we'll come upright a little more. You can keep some weight into this left hand. Flex through your feet. You've got your 90-degree angles in both of your legs. With all your might, push your outer left femur into the floor. Push, 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 push with just all of your might there. And keep pushing. And then release that. And then back leg. Inner right knee. Push into the floor. And push your whole right leg down into the floor with all your might. And then release that. Now we're going to think of lifting this left leg up. Okay, so flex through your left ankle and ground down through that left femur and knee as you lift it up. And maybe it's like a piece of paper amount. It's kind of more in my imagination here, but I definitely feel the effort. And then go ahead and release that ground through your back knee and just lift up that back leg. And you can lift and lower this one a few times. And then we'll find our forward fold. Just walk your hands toward that left shin. And so you may fold straight over your left shin. You may be kind of over your knee more. Just find a place that feels friendly and just explore your sensation. We don't have to have everything be easy, right? Often I'll say just do what feels good. I don't necessarily want it just to be the thing that's easy. Find the place that you feel is accessible in your body, but you're expanding your capacity. We don't need to be afraid of sensation, especially when we're moving really slowly. The likelihood of us injuring ourselves is really, really low. Okay. Go ahead and come up. We're going to find that movement of just your hip joint here. So you'll engage through your right glute and push forward, and then kind of try to push your groin toward the floor here. So you're just engaging and then pushing, and think about that big thigh bone moving forward and back. A big ant coming to visit me. And we'll come back to hands and knees. Find that beast again and just hold it for a few breaths. Just knees floating off the floor. And the knees down, and we'll do toe stretch. So just push your hips back towards your heels. Untuck your toes. Reach your arms out in front of you. Cross your right elbow underneath your left and just reach around. Give yourself a big hug and stay there. You can wrap into your eagle arms, right hand into your left palm. Shoulders away from your ears, elbows same height as your shoulders. And palms away from you. And then go ahead and release that. You can wiggle out your feet. And then we'll come back. Tuck your toes, sit back. Breathe into all that space. Left elbow under right, and just give yourself a hug. You could even tuck your chin here. And then wrap up into your eagle arms. And just breathe into your neck and shoulders. And release that. Come all the way up. Untuck your toes. You can wiggle out. You can bring your hands down. Find some ankle circles. And then sit back on your feet. Stretch the tops of your ankles. Might lean back, might lift your knees. And then we'll come up to a standing kneel. So just come all the way up and then bring your hands to your lower back and just let your back of your hands be on your lower back and your palms facing out. Okay. And then draw your elbows back, soften your lower ribs in. Take a breath in. And then just exhale to fold into a child's pose here. We'll inhale, come all the way up to your standing kneel and reach your left arm overhead. And then exhale, come back into that child's pose with your hands at your back and turn your head to the right. Inhale, all the way up, sweep your right arm up this time. Try to keep your low ribs softened in as you reach your arm back. And then exhale, fold back into that child's pose. Bring your right hand back and turn your head to the left. And we're just gonna move here. So flossing through that shoulder mobility. So you'll lift an arm. And then as you fold, turn the opposite direction, your head. We'll just end with the right arm lifting. Fold down, look to your left. And then just pause, center out your head. And you can keep your hands here on your lower back if that feels nice for your shoulders. And let your elbows just kind of fall toward the floor. And then release that. Let your arms go forward. And then turn your hands so your palms are face up. And just energetically reach your thumbs toward the floor. Walk your hands back toward your knees. Tuck your toes. And we're just going to push ourselves up into a standing forward fold. Have your knees bent as much as you need to. I like to move my feet sitting bone distance apart. Soften through your knees so you're feeling this in the backs of your legs. And just move with your breath any way that feels good. So you might pulse into a lift with your inhale and exhale to fold. And sometimes it's interesting to switch up the normal pattern of breathing. So you could maybe exhale on your halfway lift, then inhale in your fold and just see what happens energetically in your body. And get into that experience. And then let yourself hang for another breath or two. You could shake your head. Maybe hug the back of your legs. Maybe fingers to big toes. And think about breathing 360 degrees around your rib cage. And just folding in a place that feels friendly for your lower back. We've been down here for quite a while, so we'll make our way up, but I want you to come up slowly. You can roll up and let yourself come to Tadasana, mountain pose, and settle. You can shrug shoulders up and back. Maybe palms face forward. And feel your feet on the floor. Feel the back of your neck long. And feel the energy in your hands. And just release your hands if you're active there. Let your eyes open and we'll just come to the top of our mats. Inhale to reach high and let your feet be about a mat distance apart here. Exhale, hands to heart center. Just sit back in a chair. Inhale, reach high. Exhale, arms to a T, come halfway forward. Inhale, reach your arms straight forward. Then exhale, soften your knees. Bring your hands to the floor and then just step your left foot back. So now we're in a lizard lunge. Hands are down inside that right foot. Push back through your left heel. Push into your right big toe ball mound. And then feel like you're energetically pulling your right outer hip back. You can exhale forcefully and just feel that transverse abdominis, your low belly engage. And then go ahead and bring your back knee down and you can lower down in your lizard here. So if you just want to bend elbows, you can bend your elbows. You could bring forearms to a block or to the floor and just get into that right hip. So you can't see my leg at all. But we're just stretching. And your right toes can angle to the right a little. You could even play with snuggling your right arm underneath and just holding onto your foot, maybe bringing your head towards your foot. You could reach your right arm up behind you and maybe even just experiment with seeing if your left hand can reach for your right fingers. None of this is necessary, but it can be a fun exploration. If you've got that bind, if you're playing with the bind, just undo it. Come into your lizard. Lunge again. And then come back up onto your hands. Just step back to downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. You can pedal out there. Come forward to a plank. Just bring your knees to the floor. Bring your chest down between your hands. Draw your elbows in. Push into your pubic bone. Push into all 10 toenails. Reach your sternum forward to come up. And a cobra. And then exhale to lower. Push yourself up into table. Back to downward facing dog. And then take a walk back up to the top of your mat. Take your feet as wide as your space, as your mat, and just roll yourself up to standing. Reach high. Exhale, hands to your heart, sit back in your chair. Inhale and reach high. Exhale, arms to a T, come halfway forward. Inhale, reach your arms forward. And then exhale, soften your knees, bring your hands to the floor. Step your right foot back for that lizard lunge. And just actively stay here for a few breaths. With that back knee lifted, pushing through that back heel, reaching your heart forward. Lifting that right inner thigh up. And then go ahead and bring that right knee to the floor. You can angle your left toes to the left a little. You can lower down any amount. Maybe you just soften through your elbows a little bit. Maybe you bring your forearms to a block if you have one, or to the floor. Just being friendly with the experience. Right, having a body is an experiential experience. I don't know what word to use. But we really do a lot of things to escape it. Spend a lot of time in our heads. A lot of time distracting ourselves. But when we can approach our experience with like just the physical meat and bones of our body with compassion and kindness, right, then we find connection with the rest of humanity, right? We know on a visceral level what it's like to be a human being, and we can be empathetic. So powerful and so needed for us just to realize that the personal is universal. Go ahead and play with any playing. If you did it on the first side, you could just thread that left arm under, maybe bring your head towards your foot. You could play with your arm coming back, maybe finding a bind here with your fingers. I'm just playing with that balance. And then go ahead, release that, come down and settle. Hands to the floor, downward facing dog. And let this feel good. Find any movements of your spine that you would like here if you want to find a little bit of cat and cow with your pelvis. You can totally do that. You could even come out a little bit, find some softness in your knees and play with your shoulders, pushing the floor away and then letting your shoulder blades come down the back. right? It's so healthy for our joints to be loaded in all different ways. So you don't always need to worry about doing it perfectly right. Variety is so essential for us to be able to experience everything, right? And we want to increase our capacity. Okay, find stillness after any movement you did there. And then bring your knees to the floor. Cross your ankles underneath you. Find a seat. And we'll just come all the way onto our backs. Just do a little bit of bridge work here. So if you have a block or a pillow and you like to do a supported bridge, this is a totally appropriate time of day to do that. Well, let's just find some shoulder opening or softening, flossing here. Push into your feet, lift your hips, interlace your fingers, point your knuckles up toward the ceiling. And as you lift your hips, bring your hands toward your heart. And then exhale, lower hips and reach your knuckles toward the ceiling. This pumping action, connected with your breath and your movement. Feel your shoulder blade motion on your back underneath you and the engagement of those muscles as you put some weight into them on the floor underneath you. Feels good. This is one of my favorites. Obviously, we do this a lot, huh? And then go ahead and release. Find a place just to pause for 5 to 8 breaths. So that may be just lifting your hips and pausing there, holding onto the edges of your mat or interlacing fingers underneath you. You could bring a block underneath your sacrum. And just let yourself settle there. You could play with a supported shoulder stand. Just float your feet up off the floor and reach your feet up. If you've got a block underneath you, this obviously won't work if you're not. And shoulder stand always makes my neck hurt, so I rarely teach it. Gives me a headache. But I like this supported shoulder stand. You can just let your legs be soft and kind of just feel the day drain out of your legs. We won't stay here super long, but we might return to this again. Bend your knees if your legs are up, feet to the floor. Lift yourself up off of your block. And then just roll to one side and push yourself up to a seat. And we're going to come into pigeon. So you'll bring your right shin to the floor and then swing your left leg back. Now, you could do it kind of like this is fine with me today as we're resting. If you need to keep that back knee bent or straighten that leg and really work toward having a level pelvis here. And the closer your right heel is toward your pelvis, the less intense it will be on your right hip. Okay, so we did quite a bit of work with our hips at the very beginning. So this will be a nice stretch. Come up onto your fingertips or hands. Now, if this is too much, like I said, you can have that back knee bent out to the side. And then we're gonna fold down. Maybe forearms to the floor. Find a place to rest your forehead. So maybe just bring your forehead to a palm. You could stack your fists and rest your forehead on fists. You could reach your arms forward and bring your forehead all the way to the floor. And like we did earlier, find some activity where you push both of your legs into the floor. Just push with all your might. And then just let go and let yourself settle. And really experience what it's like to have a hip. And breathe. In a really friendly way. Right? Always just approaching our experience with some friendliness and kindness. We'll come out of that pigeon and make your way to the other side. I always like to do a downward facing dog in between and just get some circulation back into that knee and leg. You could even do just hands and knees and a couple of rounds of cat and cow or some circles with that hip. Just get yourself recalibrated. Notice the difference from one side to the other. And then we'll switch. Left knee forward. And you can bring your right knee out to the side and just be like in that 90-90 we were at the beginning. Or you can lengthen that right leg back. Okay. And really think about your pelvis being level with the floor. The closer your heel is in toward your pubic bone, the less intense the stretch will be. The more parallel your shin is with the top edge of your mat, the more intense. Okay. Start upright for a few breaths, and you can find some engagement of like dragging your knees toward each other. Some support. And then go ahead and let yourself fold any amount, maybe to forearms and a palm to your forehead. Maybe forehead to stacked fists. If you have a block, you could always bring a block into your forehead. Or all the way down, forehead to the floor. And find space for your breath. You can even think of this left hip like a lung. You can really breathe and expand into any tension. And then with your exhale, just let yourself settle a little more. And let yourself be here. If you notice your thoughts wandering, just see if you can bring yourself back into your body, not escaping or distracting from what's happening here. And approach it with some friendliness. And we'll make our way out of that pigeon. You can come to a table and recalibrate, find some circles or cat and cow, for downward facing dog. And we'll do one more forward fold. Upavishta Konasana, so wide legs. You can sit on something. Think of knees and toes pointing straight up. And the space between your pubic bone and your tailbone parallel with the floor. Okay. And then lead with your heart to come forward any amount. And let this just be a time to get into your body. If you want to do a couple of side bends, if you want to take some time going to one side and then the other for a few breaths on each side, feel free to do that. And take it one breath at a time. This is really more about stretching through our legs and finding integrity through our core and our spine. So you're hinging at your hips, not folding at your rib cage or your belly. Okay. So don't worry about how far your head comes forward. Right? Just think about hinging at your hips. And as you breathe here, think of your pelvic floor as a mirror of your diaphragm, that muscle at the base of your rib cage. And as you inhale, right, your pelvic floor relaxes with your diaphragm expansion. And as you exhale, everything draws in and up from the base of your pelvic floor all the way up through the roof of your mouth. You can think of that. And just feel that travel of energy up and down your spine. And find that muscular movement and engagement. And so hopefully if you've gone side to side, you've done both sides. And then take a couple of breaths in the center. We'll come on up. Make our way back to our backs. Find a couple of twists. So just lay down, bring your knees into your chest. Hook onto your right knee, let your left leg go long, and then just use your left hand to guide your right knee over to your left. Let your right arm go long. You can look to your right. And just find a balance between your right shoulder staying grounded and your right knee coming toward the floor. The knee does not need to come down. You don't need to like torque your pelvis here. And come back to center. Hug your left knee in. You can lengthen your right leg. Guide that left knee with your right hand over to your right and look to your left. Left shoulder stays grounded. And come back to center. And for our final relaxation, you've got options. If you have a couch or something nearby, you can scoot your bum over next to your couch and just put your lower legs on your couch. If you want to return to that supported shoulder stand, you can lift your hips and bring your block underneath your sacrum. So not the lower part of your sacrum, but not on your lower back, right? not on your lower back vertebrae, it's the back of your pelvis. Then you can return maybe to that supported shoulder stand, just palms face up. Let the day drain out of your legs. You could do legs up a wall also. And take a big breath in wherever you are once you get yourself settled. And then just like flubber your lips. And do that a couple of times just to really let your face relax. Just a big breath in. And then flubber your lips. No, it's silly, but it really does feel good. And then just let yourself completely relax wherever you are. Your face is soft. Your eyes are heavy in their sockets. Your scalp just relaxed, draping over your skull. And swallow, relax the root of your tongue, relax your jaw. Let your throat feel open and soft. Your collarbones just drape away from the center and your sternum. Let yourself feel the whole length and weight of your arms relax. You can feel the energy in your hands. Just notice the aliveness, any tingling or sensation there. Let your fingers just naturally curve so your palms face up and you're just completely relaxed through your arms. Feel your rib cage. And feel it expand with your breath as your breathing just naturally comes in and out of your body without any effort on your part. Your breath just breathes itself. It will probably get shallower and softer. Let your belly relax and feel your pelvis heavy. Relax your pelvic floor and all the contents. And feel the whole length and weight of your legs relax. Bring your awareness to your feet and just feel the aliveness and sensation there. Completely relax your feet. And just open your awareness to take in your whole body. This tool of experience. The whole purpose of embodiment is to gain experience, to investigate and notice how we react to the situations in our lives, what patterns we've developed, and how we can be wise and intentional, and how we can be compassionate and kind. If you're doing that supported shoulder stand, you can bring your feet back to the floor, maybe take the block out from underneath you. Wherever you are, just bring one hand to your heart, one hand to your belly. Just the warmth of your hands, feel the tenderness and kindness that you can offer to yourself, to your body. And feel free to stay here as long as you have time. Thank you so much for practicing with me tonight. Sleep well. Namaste.